Hello, I'm Anna. I am caregiver to my husband Spencer. He was diagnosed with multiple myeloma last year, June 2023. We live out in Dallas, and we're just kind of going through that journey now. Spencer, he was feeling the chest pains or like around his ribs, and it raised an eyebrow for me. I kept kind of being like, what do you mean it hurts? Like, how does it hurt? And then when he went to the doctor and the doctor just kind of gave him muscle relaxers, I was like, okay, let's just keep an eye on it. And then that week of his 39th birthday, he just wasn't really feeling 100%. But also at the same time, my allergies were acting up, and a lot of our friends, their allergies were acting up. So we both just kind of attributed how he was feeling to that. I just kind of figured, oh, his are worse than mine, because I eventually started to feel better. And then when we went out for his birthday and all that, like, there were little things I would notice. He would be kind of shivering, and he would just play it off like, oh, it's just because I was hot, and then the AC turned on, so then I was sweaty, and then that made me cold. And I was like, okay. But then just again, like, it's in the back of my head, right? And he had pneumonia when we were back in college, which was many, many years ago. And so I kind of remembered that because he had pretty bad chills at that time. So I was also thinking like, okay, maybe this is just something a little bit more. And then that day when we took him to the ER, he had a friend in town for his birthday. And after his friend flew home, we were both pretty tired from the weekend. So we both took naps. And he woke up from his nap and he was just shivering like violently. And I was like, this is not right, because our agreement was after that weekend, he would get an appointment, check back in with his primary. And then when he woke up from that nap, I was like, no, I'm taking you in right now. So that was really the only thing where it was like, something's not right. Aside from that, there were really no big symptoms or things that were so far off that kind of raised a flag in my head. Leading up to the diagnosis, I know Spencer mentioned the ER doctor kind of explaining how to figure out what the root cause is for his little white blood cells that he was experiencing. So as we started to go through those steps and he's letting his family know what's happening and them being far away and not in our reality, there were a lot of nerves and anxiety from him and for his family, because his parents obviously are very worried. The rest of his family's reaching out, just saying things like, I am praying for you, hoping everything's okay. Just keep us updated. And it was really at that point where I was like, I felt I had to be steady. Just because I felt like I just kind of had to walk him through it and be like, don't forget, this is exactly what the doctor at the ER explained was going to happen. We're working with the primary. Now we're at the hematologist. And then I think it was like that night before we met with the hematologist, it was just like nerves are building up, because like you hear hematologist, oncologist, and you're like, your brain can't help but go to cancer. And I was just like, it's one step at a time. We don't know anything yet. And we're finding out those answers, and hopefully we get those answers soon. The answer was not what we were hoping for, obviously. But I remember sitting in the doctor's room, and like I was in a meeting for work, and I tell my Spencer texts me. He's like, "Hey, they're calling to see if we can come in this afternoon." And he called me at like 2:30 in the afternoon. I was like, "The doctor's office closes at like 5 o'clock." Like, and then I would have to drive 20 minutes to get Spencer, and then we would drive about 35, 40 minutes to get up to the doctor's office. And I was like, oh boy. Okay. So they're obviously calling us in for something. And so we're sitting in there. And even then, when we were sitting in the office, I was like, okay, maybe it's okay. I just really don't know what I was feeling. I was like, but here we are. And he's talking. And then it's probably within like a couple of minutes, he says the word cancer. And I heard it, but I hadn't really processed it. I'm just trying to listen intently to like what he's explaining to us. And then probably, I think that meeting with him was 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes. And about halfway through, like it finally hit me because he started talking about what treatment's going to look like, what the journey's going to look like, and everything like that. And then I just started crying. Like, I think we were both just crying by the end of it. And we were like, what just happened? And that 24 to 36 hours after it happened, like, for me, it was very cathartic because I think the anxiety that I was not holding in, but like the front that I was trying to put on before finding out the news and just being kind of steady for Spencer, like I was able to let those emotions go. And so after that, and like, I felt like, okay, this is what it is. This is what we have to do. And then from there, I was like, let's go. And then just kind of took it from there. I kind of knew that the mental aspect would be a little tougher for him. And so I immediately reached out to friends and family near, far, and I asked them to send cards, letters, pictures, anything really, like in the mail. And I would just keep a stash of them. And so whenever Spencer was maybe feeling a type of way, maybe feeling a little down or felt like he may have needed a little more encouragement, or just encouragement, he could open up one of the cards and the box is kind of buried right now, but we have a box and it's just full of cards. And we were having friends from like out of town send cards, and they would just send really nice notes. And one of the pluses out of it was we got pretty close to one of his aunts and uncles. They live in Southern California, and they were sending a card almost every week. And like his aunt was writing out notes, just describing what their week was like, what they had upcoming. And it was just nice to get those, and we would read them together. And then he would just have some that were strictly for him, and it would like put a smile on his face. And then, so we had that stash. And then I'm a very creative person. So I designed some hats. A friend of ours, she had, I think Hodgkin's lymphoma, and her friends, they like all got hats, and they were kind of like their rally hats for her that they would wear on treatment days. And so I loved that idea just because we have so many people in Texas and California, pretty much everywhere, all over the country. And with our last name being Swann, I was like, oh, God, let's make like some Swann hats. And so I had hats made, and everyone ordered it. And I was like, hey, this is going to be the cost. Well, I'll take like, I think I took about $10 from each cost, and we just put it towards like his bills, medications, or anything like that. And so like we were able to raise like over $1,000 for him, and he was able to put it towards like any of his medical costs. And it was, I mean, even more so than that, like that everyone was so generous with getting the hats and everything. And him just seeing and realizing like all this love and support that's there for him at this time, um it it was a good way for me to help like bring him up and keep him up. And from the very beginning, like my mission or my goal was to just kind of keep him up as much as possible through this, because I knew at some point like it was going to get really hard. I had to learn very quickly how to lean on people. Um, we have a great community out here, and I'm not normally one to ask for help. I'm always like, I got it. I can do it all. And with things like this, it's just silly. Like, you can't. And we have so many great friends and family who are ready. They were ready and willing to like step up in any way possible. Um, so I had to learn the best way for me to ask for help, and specifically kind of delegate in a way like what we needed at the time. Because people do, I think what the hardest thing to accept is that people do want to help you. And people would ask Spencer, like, do you guys need anything? And he would kind of be like, no, we're okay right now. We're doing okay. And I'm like, no, like, I was like, reach out to me. And it was just little things that I knew we needed to kind of help me help him in a sense, just to make things a little easier on us, whether it was like uh, meal drops, um, friends, they paid for cleaners to come like every 2 weeks or like once a month. And that was so helpful for me because him going through treatment, he's obviously more susceptible to like getting sick, and we're just busy going through his treatment. So for that to be one less thing that I have to worry about at least like once every 2 weeks, like it was so helpful. So like leaning on community, that was huge for me. And just trying to stay positive and find the hope and the light in this time. Right now, we're in his maintenance phase, and maybe we're not so in it, but we're still in it. And there's still things that like you kind of have to talk to and work through. Um, and so, yeah, just to not stay isolated and get the help when you need it. And it's okay to ask for help. I think I mean, I had to finally admit to myself, like, I need to ask for help. And especially leading up to Spencer's transplant, when we kind of got like released back into the wild after his transplant, um, we thought it was going to be so much easier to like transition to the maintenance phase. And it was a little more challenging than we thought. We were like, the hard part's done, and let's do this. And then they were just, it's kind of, for me, it's us going back to husband wife versus caregiver patient, and finding that again, because with the way that multiple myeloma is, it's never going to go away. So those roles of caregiver patient never really go away. So for us, it's kind of been like finding that husband wife relationship again in the realm of being patient caregiver. And both of us, I think, after going through what we've gone through, just those little things of like spending time together and appreciating each other has meant a lot more now, where like, because we know everything that we went through in the past year, and we were just so focused and in survival mode, and now we're kind of like, oh, what do we do now? Just being able to go out to eat, we're like, oh my god, and not have to worry about anything, and being able to travel and like just seeing things. Like we went to Chicago last week, and just walking around, being able to walk around the city was like just something so simple, but to be able to do that, we did it with so much appreciation. And we went to a concert last month. We haven't been together, and like we haven't been able to do that in so long. And we were both just like, I had a really great time with you last night. So it's been a not a weird space, but like just navigating those waters of like treatment and then the new normal, and getting back to life has been a very interesting space to be in. But it's a space that I know I'm grateful to be in, and I know he's grateful to be in too. It's kind of like him wanting to get his independence back, because I was so like, you have to take this medicine at this time. We have this appointment at this time. And I was like the one driving, and then it was like, no, you can't do that. No, you can't eat that. And then now I'm like, I have to rethink how I say things, because I'm like, oh my God, like, no, he knows this. And he's very much more aware of what he can, cannot, should not do. And I have to consciously tell myself to step back, and even like refocus how I say things, to him, and like talk to him like my partner, not talk to him like I have to take care of him. So it's been an adjustment for both of us, but we're getting there. I would say to anyone who is a caregiver, care partner, you're doing your best, and your best is enough.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
You don't have to be perfect, but also remember you are the voice for your patient, for your partner, and ask questions, advocate for both of you. You never really have to do what the doctor says, but if you're not sure, ask, because we learn to just ask questions, even if it sounded stupid. And I would, if you don't understand what they're saying and they're just speaking doctor speak, ask. But also, more importantly, find time for yourself, because you're going to need it, because this journey takes so much out of you and your partner, where you have to find time for yourself. Whether it's, my counselor always said when we were in the thick of it, even if it's just sitting outside for 10 minutes just to get away from that environment and just breathe fresh air in, do that. And when we were in the thick of it, like just being able to step away was so helpful. And then finally, as we got into a groove of things, I finally started getting back to things that I loved, whether it was reading or exercising. Like that was always my outlet, doing a workout of some sort. So it's like, don't forget about you, but also while you're going through this, you have to lean on your community. If people offer you help, lean on them, take that help, but also take the help in the best way it is for you. If you don't need meals, don't take the meals. If you want someone to come and help you with laundry, wash some dishes, let them know, because there will be someone who can take care of that for you, and they will happily do that for you. And yeah, community, don't forget yourself. Find that time for yourself and advocate for your partner, your patient, whoever it may be. Because yeah, you know what's best for you guys in the situation that you're in, even though it's a crappy situation to be in.